unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
Hey, y'all. It's Hater Radio. My name is Chris McLean. My co-host is Ian Gibson. How are you, Ian?
Doing very good.
Hey, so this is a college football media brand. We do 2 shows every week. We do a recap on Sunday of all the games. And then on Wednesday, we do a preview show of the games coming up. So let's jump into it. Week 3. So the first game we have is one team that we cover, which is UCLA. It's New Mexico and UCLA. So UCLA, got blown out by Utah in week 1 and looked just atrocious. Last week started the game terribly as well and looked like they were going to get blown out. But then in the second half, they really took it to UNLV. So there is something to work with there. This is an easier game. They should win this game relatively easy. Last year, New Mexico was primarily a running team. Their OC is now at Utah, along with their dynamic QB, Dampier. They still looked all right the first 2 weeks, but I believe coming into this game, they played Michigan in that first game. But they were actually only able to generate 50 rush yards, so not too great. Sorry, I misspoke. And then Bryce Underwood had a really good game that first game. He was 21 of 31 for 251 yards. Jack Lane, the quarterback for New Mexico, threw the ball 47 times for only 208 yards, which is a very low yardage per pass attempt number. He also had 3 picks in that game. Their defense allowed 452 yards. They were nearly even split on the ground and the air. I expect UCLA to really come back in this game. I thought they built on something there in that second half. They looked really good. Now with the rest of the schedule kind of evening out because they had a really tough start. Utah is going to be a really good team, more than likely going to be a Big 12 contender. They're looking like it so far. Dampier is looking gnarly, putting up a ton of points. But UNLV, with Dan Mullen, decent offense. Their defense has struggled in the first 2 games that they played, and they looked better against UCLA this one, so it was not a good sign. But again, they turned it on. Nico looked better in the second half. He struggled in that last drive, couldn't really put it together at the end there, and I think he threw a pick at the end. And so just going to need more reps from Nico, hopefully get more of that. They play Northwestern after this, I believe. And then, their schedule, it kind of evens out a little bit. They'll start Big Ten play, and then we'll see from there. But just kind of a rough start for them so far. I would have hoped at least a 1-1 split there to begin the season, but they are 0-2, and they need this win badly. Your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, you hit all the major points there for UCLA. They definitely need this win, and New Mexico is definitely the prime candidate to get back on track. You were right. Amaliava looked much better in the second half than he did first, but it's all about, starting on schedule and not getting behind.
Yeah.
Now, that was what killed him against UNLV, against a very weak defense. To be honest, UNLV did not have a good defense. And this is going to be the same thing. New Mexico doesn't really have a great defense. They're not really the top of the pack in the Mountain West. But I do feel like, even with that, UCLA will score enough in the, first 2 quarters to, make it comfortable. I don't really see the defense. The defense has been pretty good at times for UCLA, with the exception of the Utah game. But they came up with some big stops in the second half against UNLV. Yeah. So I think they'll be able to get the stops on New Mexico. I'm going to go Bruins win and kind of get the ship righted a bit. I'll go with let's do like a 31-14 win.
Yeah, I'm along the same lines. I'm thinking like a 34-20 game. and I think they score pretty consistently in this one. They're able to move the ball. Nico looks a lot better. With time over these next couple of weeks, he'll become more in sync with the receivers. He did look like that in most of the second half, so hopefully they capitalize on that. Let's move on to Oregon Northwestern. The big note I have is, does the giant inflatable duck show
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I mean, it seems like a lot of people are wanting it, so I think Oregon will pull that off. I mean, whose duck is it? Is it the schools, or is it just a random fan?
It was the schools, because they brought it to Big Ten Media Day, their first last year.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's definitely the schools.
That's funny. I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's like there's a huge side of the field that is just the lake.
Yeah.
So, like, what is anyone going to be able to do? Like, they can't stop them from bringing that out. So, it would be hilarious. But to the game, Oregon blew out Oklahoma State. Dante Moore had a great game, 3 TDs, 266 yards. They only gave up 211 total yards, 61 through the air from Oklahoma State. And they also put up 631. So they were extremely dominant. I think the score was like 69-3 or something, right? Yeah, because you remember you making.
Yeah, it was an awesome score.
Yeah, and so not much to expect out of that Oklahoma State game, because Oklahoma State is not very good, and it looks like Gundy's probably on his last legs. But and I don't expect much out of Northwestern either. They looked, pretty bad against Tulane in the first week. They allowed 269 yards on the ground against Tulane, and they turned the ball over 5 times. So that could have been a big reason why the score was pretty lopsided. But either way, I don't expect much out of Northwestern in this game. Oregon's defense is still strong, and Dante Moore seems to be turning it on. So I'm going to say probably like a 44-14 game. What do you got?
Yeah, I don't see really Northwestern's offense just keeping up. Their offense hasn't been, fantastic. I mean, it's only been 2 games, but I think about the Tulane game, and Tulane was able to hold them steady. And Oregon's definitely got a better defense than that. It is interesting. Northwestern's defense is, when I did the looking up, they are actually, as of right now, in the top 5 in the Big Ten in passing defense, and obviously that's the strength of Oregon. But I feel like there's, Oregon can just out-athlete the Wildcats, so I'm going to go Ducks winning. I'll go with a let's do 38-10.
Okay. Next game we got Clemson, Georgia Tech. I'm calling it. I saw it somewhere else, but I'm calling it. This is my upset. And I don't know how much of an upset this really is, since Clemson already has a loss and they look like trash against Troy. So Georgia Tech looked really good. They demolished Gardner-Webb, the school I worked at many years ago in the athletic department, and looked good doing it. And then they looked really good against Colorado. They ran the ball extremely well, 320 yards on the ground. They were in the Gardner-Webb game. They were 11.9 yards per play, which is outstanding. They were 7 of 12 on conversions against Colorado. In the game against Gardner-Webb, they were only 2 of 8, which is interesting. I don't know why that is, but kind of whatever. Clemson, like I said, struggled against Troy. Only 316 yards against them, which is not very good, because Troy is are they Sunbelt?
Troy is Sunbelt, yeah.
Okay. But still, only 5.7 yards per play. Not good. They struggle against LSU to move the ball a ton. They were kind of in control of the game in the first half against LSU, and then LSU really took it over in the second half. I expect Georgia Tech to run the ball extremely well. I am expecting at least 250 yards of rushing for Georgia Tech, and if that's the case, I don't expect Clemson to have the ball a ton. and it's going to be probably like a 24-17 game, and maybe Georgia Tech, has the ball late and scores a late touchdown and puts them over, and Clemson doesn't have enough to win it. What do you got?
Yeah, and what's interesting to note is obviously Clemson has got this winning streak right now with Georgia Tech, and I remember the last time Georgia Tech beat them was in 2014 near the end of the year, and that one was in Atlanta. So this is prime, trap game opportunity here for Georgia Tech. I mean, they love playing the spoiler. They did that to Miami last year, so I got a feeling. The thing is I don't feel like we've seen the best of Clemson. I feel like they're just coasting right now. And now credit LSU just smothered them. And then they were probably still riding off of that going into the Troy game. Yeah. But I got a feeling this one is going to be close. Georgia Tech never goes down easy. So I'm going to say it's going to be a very close game. It's very well going to be a time possession and who has the ball last. But I think Clemson finds a way to sneak out of Atlanta with a win. Very, very close. But I feel like in the end, they might just play keep away with Tech because they know, you don't want Haynes King running the ball. And I feel like Klubnik will get it together. Now, if they don't, clearly this is all hands on deck emergency because now Clemson is really struggling. Because you lost to LSU, you didn't look good against Troy, and then you lose to Georgia Tech in your conference opener. That's a really bad look. But I think Clemson survives a scare. But I'm going to go Tigers winning let's do like a 28 to like 24 win or something like that.
A lot of what I'm basing it on is the fact that I believe Georgia Tech is like, they're hitting on all cylinders right now, while Clemson, I don't feel like is. And like you said, I agree with your point that they can turn it on. They have not done it yet. And so that's what makes me kind of suspect of them right now. This game, it's huge for them, like you said, because if they go down 1-2 to start the year, I mean that the season's basically obliterated at that point. Yeah. Like, they'd have to it'd be a miracle for them to win out. They'd have to at least the only way they're going into the playoff with 2 losses at that point is if they got to the ACC championship game, and more than likely they'd have to win it. So they wouldn't get in with 3 losses in the ACC. So, this is huge right now. I know they have some other games against Florida State and whatnot, but this is the game right now. They really need to focus on this one. I don't think it's a trap game at all. I think this is I think this is just an important game for them. Let's move on. Oklahoma Temple. So John Matier looked great last week. He's clearly the Heisman frontrunner at this point because no other player has really looked that great against solid competition yet, and he really has stood out because of that. Temple, as a team, it looks like they run the ball quite well. They have several options to choose from because there's a lot of guys getting carries. They have a bell cow back in Jay Ducker. I think Temple's going to put up some points, not a ton. I'm thinking around 17 or 20, 21. And then I think Matier, though, has a really good game. I expect them to move the ball well. And I'm going to say probably a 35-20 game. What do you got?
So the first thing I want to say is we get Oklahoma playing at Temple, but we can't get Oklahoma and Nebraska.
I know, yeah. Exactly.
How does that make any sense? I'm trying to find the math in here.
I was confused by that as well, but there's instances where you see that. Miami plays teams on the road as well. They've played App State in Boone, and it's weird. It's some schools do these 1-for-1s where other schools are nah, man, we're only doing one and we ain't going back.
Well, I mean, Florida is doing that with UCF and USF. I mean, they played.
USF was a 2-for-1. because they played in Tampa and then they played twice in Florida or in Gainesville. UCF is only a 1-for-1, I think, or is it a 2-for-1?
I know. If I remember looking at the future schedules, they do go to Orlando in the coming years.
I know they go to Orlando, but I don't think there's another return trip to Gainesville. I think
there might not be.
Somehow they got a 1-for-1, which is like the thing that they've been talking about for years. Like, we got to get 1-for-1s. And like, I get it, but it's like at some point now, considering that UCF is a Big 12 team, they need to really like take on a lot of these big names. And they're playing North Carolina this week. So like, we'll see. I mean, North Carolina looks like crap, but let's get into this game a little bit more. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah. So I think Temple is actually going to put up a pretty good fight. I got a feeling Oklahoma might sleep on them a bit. You just came off an emotional win against Michigan at night. Mateer went off, and you have all the expectations. You're going to Philadelphia, not really the biggest, like, comparing Norman to, Lincoln Financial for a game day is night and day. No offense to Temple, but it just is. But I want to point out how for Temple, their quarterback, Evan Simon, has 9 touchdown passes already on the year. Now, credit, those were against teams. I know they played Howard and UMass, but that's still pretty impressive. And they have a very balanced attack. So I think Temple might, ambush them a bit. But at the end, I think Oklahoma will just, outgain them in the end. So I'll take the Sooners winning. I think Temple can put up some points, but I'll go with like a 42-21 win for the Sooners.
Okay, nice. Next one, Wisconsin, Alabama. Alabama looked really good last week against I don't even remember who it was. It was another tomato can.
It was UL Monroe.
Yeah, so it doesn't really matter. They destroyed them. Ty Simpson looked great. I think he was perfect for the day. Yeah, he was. He didn't have an incompletion, 3 TDs. They dominated. Good to get off the mat after getting embarrassed by FSU in week 1. Wisconsin, they're probably playing on the fact that, Bama's a little wounded. They had that bad loss. Wisconsin has looked good on defense so far. Been so on offense, especially against Miami of Ohio. Danny O'Neal looked better against Middle Tennessee. He had 283 yards and 3 TDs. So I think they're going to try to throw the ball. I don't know what to believe in Alabama's defense. I don't. Like, after that Florida State shellacking. But I will say Castellanos did not throw the ball a ton against Bama. He, I think it was like 14 passes total. So maybe they're more adept to attacking a team that way. Running the ball, Castellanos was running all over them, and they were making plays left and right because of that. Especially in Gus Malzahn's offense. Wisconsin's offense is not like that really at all, but it still can move the ball. I think I'm going to go with Alabama just because it's in Tuscaloosa, and I feel like Alabama really needs to prove themselves before the start of the SEC schedule. So I'm going to say Alabama wins. I'm going to say like a 28-17 game. What do you got?
Yeah, I think because it's in Tuscaloosa, and it is a new game. It won't be a night game, but this is a must-win for Alabama, and this is another trap game because Wisconsin can easily come in, and if Alabama's sleeping, they can, jump on them. They have a very balanced attack. You've got guys like Jones, the running back, and O'Neal, who's been very solid in the backfield or passing. So I think Alabama, especially the defense, we need to see the secondary step up, which they have done a pretty good job of, with the exception of the Florida State game. I think Bama avoids the upset. They did a good job last year of, blocking the noise out and going into Madison and winning. So I feel like they can handle it here in Tuscaloosa. And I think it'll just be like a kind of ground and pound, old school, play keep away possession game. And they just need to average like 5 yards a carry. If they can average 5 yards per play, they've got this. And I feel like Bama will. And I'm going to go with the Tide winning a 31-17 game.
Nice. Georgia, Tennessee. I am like really wanting to put Tennessee over, but I am just at this point, it's been so long. Like, I don't even remember the last time Tennessee has beaten Georgia. I mean, is
I
it
do.
really?
It was the Hail Mary.
Is that? I was thinking that. Is that what it is? I mean, that is. I mean, that was like at least 8-9 years ago. And
yeah, it was 2000 because it was Dobbs was quarterback. And Jawan Jennings caught it. Would have been 2016.
Yeah, it was the year that they beat Florida too, and then somehow still Florida ended up winning the SEC East, even though Tennessee beat both Georgia and Florida that year. I am just at a wait and see with them, and I'm really honestly kind of wanting to put the jinx on Tennessee because I don't want, or the jinx on Georgia because I don't want Georgia to win. But at this point, I would rather just say that Georgia's going to win because I don't have any faith in Tennessee winning this game. Like, they have not looked competitive in this game for years. And, you know, I think it was better last year, though. They had that a chance to go up like 14-0 or something like that I saw the other day. So it's like they looked better, but they still ended up losing by a decent amount. So, like, they just cannot beat Georgia for whatever reason. Just like they've struggled in Gainesville for 20 years. You know, Tennessee, I don't know. The only thing in this game, you know, for Georgia, they lost 2 fumbles against Austin Peay. That's why that score was a little bit lower. You know, Zachariah Branch, 1 catch. So I know there was a lot of like, oh, Branch looks great that first week, but then he looked pedestrian the second week. For Tennessee, they had 717 yards of offense last week. They ran 100 plays. 100 plays. I don't think I've ever seen that. They had about an even output against Syracuse as far as both balance between the run and the pass. The game's in Knoxville. Again, like I said, they're gonna have to show it for me until I believe it. You know, so I'm picking Georgia. I'm gonna say Georgia wins like. Because they haven't scored much, Georgia, this year, but their defense still looks good enough, and I think they can hold Tennessee in check. I mean, I like Aguilar more so than some of these ones in the past for Tennessee, but I'm going to say Georgia wins like 27 to like 21. What do you got?
So this is the other interesting thing is – since the turn of the millennium, Tennessee has only beaten Georgia and Knoxville 3 times: 2007, 2009, and 2015. All the other times they have played each other, it has been Georgia.
Wow,
and
that's insane.
And obviously the last time they beat them was the Hail Mary in Athens in 2016. Yeah. So the thing is with Heupel, we've seen him flip the script. You know, obviously he's beaten Bama twice, and that was something we never thought we'd see Tennessee beat Bama just once. And it's in Knoxville. It's in, it's a 3:30 game. Here's the other thing too I was thinking is that not like Syracuse was world beaters, but Tennessee technically had a more, I'm not going to say prime time or tougher match, but when they played Syracuse, that was more of a like prop up game than it was when, Georgia was playing, the 2 layup games. Yeah. So I think Tennessee is experienced and they've obviously played these kind of games before, and then again, they didn't look too good against Austin Peay last week. Georgia did, but I don't know. I feel like, again, Georgia's defense, it's been about the defense. They'll find a way to confuse Aguilar and maybe make some bad decisions. And the running game has still been pretty good for Tennessee as well. They're very balanced.
Yeah.
But I just trust Georgia more in this instance than I would. I think Tennessee, now this is a pick that I wouldn't be surprised goes the other way. Tennessee could easily win this one. And if it was my choice as a Gator fan, I wish we would bring ties back. But I've got Georgia winning it. It might be like a field goal or something near the end, but I'll go with like a let's do like 27-24 Bulldogs.
And I'm hoping this reverse jinx works for us. Okay. Next
Well, I
one.
mean, it doesn't really matter. I don't like either team.
Yeah, same. Okay, one of the teams we cover, USC, going up against Purdue. Is this a trap game? I mentioned the other day that some Purdue podcasters were saying that they should be able to beat USC. I don't know, man. I like USC's offense a lot. I watched the game on Saturday, USC against Georgia Southern, and the offense looked unreal. And I know it's Georgia Southern, but Maeva looked amazing. Lemon and Lane are just two beasts. They're definitely first round picks in the NFL. I'm almost assured of it. The run game looked dominant. Jordan and I think Sanders, and they look great. The defense gave up some yards against Georgia Southern, but they kept the score pretty low for the most part, and they were able to get stops on 3rd and 4th down. So take it with a grain of salt. I think Georgia Southern's offense actually looks a little bit better than I would have imagined. I looked at Purdue. I didn't see a ton on there that looked amazing. Their bell cow is Devin Maccabee. He carried the ball 32 times against Southern Illinois. They threw the ball a ton against Ball State, nearly 350 yards. Their defense looks solid, but again, they played bad teams, Southern Illinois and Ball State. Jaden Maeva only has 11 incompletions for the year. They had 755 total yards last week. But again, they also gave up 377 yards to Georgia Southern. I think maybe in this game, they give up around like 300 yards, but I think USC is going to put up a ton of points. I'm going to say like it's going to be like a 41 to 22 game. What do you got?
Yeah, and the other thing to note too is that Southern Illinois game, Southern Illinois was ended in the first quarter. It was tied 14-14 going into the second quarter.
Yeah.
So I feel like if Southern Illinois can get the jump on Purdue like that, and then Purdue's defense could settle down. I mean, USC's offense has been incredible, especially with Maeva. Maeva. I think USC will do, like you said, I think they'll have their way. I've got the Trojans kind of running away with it. I think Purdue's defense will kind of get it together in the second half, but USC is just going to put up too many points for them to catch up, and I just don't see the offense doing as well, especially with how revamped the USC defenses looked. So I'm going to go Trojans winning let's do 40-17.
Nice. Okay. Next one we got is Pitt, West Virginia, backyard brawl, right?
Yeah. Love this rivalry.
I like vivid memory of the year 2007 when West Virginia had a shot of going to the BCS National Championship game, and they lost to Pitt. It was I don't know, 9-11 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think it was Pat McAfee, right?
He was the kicker on the team.
Yeah, and he missed a kick or something like that. So it's crazy to think where it's come this rivalry since. They didn't play for a long time. Now they're playing back again, so which is nice. I looked into West Virginia a little bit because I hadn't seen much of them play, and didn't look great. They lost to Ohio 17-10, which is not good because Ohio is not a good team. I know they're a MAC team, but they had 625 yards against Robert Morris, 393 on the ground. So that's something good, and that's what Rich Rod wants to do. So we'll probably see more of that going into this game. Pittsburgh threw the ball really well in both of their games. Looks like more of a passing attack so far, leaning more heavily on the air attack. Their defense looks stout, but again, two bad teams, so tough to really get a judge of that. This is Pittsburgh's first real test. West Virginia off that one loss. I don't know. I mean, where's the game? It's in West Virginia, right?
Yeah, it's in Morgantown.
I don't know. I don't know what to make of this one. This is a hard one because it is a rivalry game. So I would expect West Virginia to be up for this, especially at home. I guess I'm leaning more West Virginia, even though they have that loss. I feel like because it's a rivalry game, they'll be juiced. I'm going to say they win 31 to 17, something like that. What do you got?
So here's the interesting thing that you mentioned the 2007 game. The last time Pitt beat West Virginia in Morgantown was in 2007. It was that game where they upset them when they were 4-8 and knocked them off. And so Rich Rodriguez has vivid memories of Pitt pulling this off. And I would say between these two, West Virginia is rebuilding and they're rebuilding on the fly. A bunch of transfers, but that loss to Ohio was a real killer. And Pitt, obviously not as strong as they were, but this game always brings the best out of both teams. It's why I love this rivalry, is that you really never know which way it's going to go. I feel like, though, Pitt is going to get the job done. They won last year in a comeback when West Virginia had that game in hand. So I feel like they can handle it. I wouldn't be surprised, though, knowing this rivalry, that West Virginia kind of pulls off the semi-upset, because no team is really streaky with each other in this. But I'm going to go with Pitt. I'm going to go with I think it's going to be close because it always is with these two. Let's do 30 to 27, or something like that.
Yeah, I kind of expect it to be close because it's I know I gave us the score of 31-17, but I feel like because it's a rivalry that it'll be, I don't know. There's just something about those games where you get more out of each other. Regardless of what the record is, you're going to put more of an effort in as a player that hates this other team. You're I'm going to do this. I'm going to be up there and I'm going to give my all. And you'll see some plays that you may not see in a normal game. And, the LSU Florida game where there's craziness all the time in that game, you might likely see that here. So let's move on. Okay. So we got our green on today. We got, the game coming up in Miami Gardens. Can USF do the impossible and win 3 games in a row against ranked opponents? I don't know. I don't know what to expect out of this game because, Carson Beck looked okay in the Notre Dame game. He had 2 touchdowns, but he only had 200 yards of passing. So not amazing. Notre Dame's secondary was their strong suit for the most part. So they limited him there. They did run the ball well against Notre Dame. So that stands out to me. The Bethune-Cookman game, just ignore. That's it's not anything to really to dive deep into. I'm just trying to focus on the Notre Dame game because that's actually competent opponent. Not that USF is exactly on the same level as Notre Dame, but USF is rising right now. I feel like, USF might struggle in the run game against Miami. Jaden Baugh did pretty well against them. Fletcher is a pretty solid running back. He'll put up some yards. I think Beck is more surgical than Lagway. So, you won't expect, huge explosives out of them in the pass game. They're probably going to nickel and dime down the field. Tony for Miami is a very solid freshman wide receiver that is very elusive, very shifty, putting up pretty decent numbers so far. And CJ Daniels as well for Miami already has 3 TDs. I saw something elsewhere that more than likely USF is going to have to bring the pressure, which means, bring in an extra blitzer, get someone to get Beck off of his out of his pocket and get him off balance so that he's not sitting back there with a ton of time. And I think that's probably the key to the game for USF. But the problem is, if they do that, do they end up getting burned by explosives because of that? Because they're being more risky of pressuring Beck? I don't know. I feel like, if anything, USF is going to have to score points in this game. They're going to have to score at least 28. You know, they only scored 18 last week, and 18 is not going to do it against Miami. They're going to have to put up more. I'm going to say if they don't score 24-28, they don't have a shot. I think Miami wins this one, though. I'm going to say Miami wins like probably 27-20. What do you got?
Yeah, and one thing to note, too, this is the first time USF will be playing a ranked team while they are ranked as well since 2017, and that was when they played UCF in that famous Warren I-4 game. That was the last time.
That long ago?
Oh yep, that was the last time there was a ranked against ranked matchup with USF.
Crazy.
So the key to this one, and you got to learn a bit from history here, and obviously from last year, USF, they got blown out last year. Now, credit, Byron Brown got injured and kind of took the wheels off, but they were in it in the first half. I mean, it was like a 22-15 game or something, but then the second half the wheels fell off.
Let's do
with this one, it's going to be very important for USF to start early. And it's funny because both teams kind of have different philosophies on offense. USF is built on the big play, and Miami is built on you kind of methodically going down the field. So for USF, it's going to be very important for the linebackers to get in the face of Beck and make sure that they're not making it third and manageable, which they did a good job against that with Boise State, obviously against Florida. But, making sure they're not spreading them out. And for USF, it's having Brown be protected in the pocket, find running lanes for, both Brown and the running backs to, maybe escape into, and then maybe hit guys like Singleton or Nimrod over the top. I think USF, it'll be like one of those games where it is like they come out firing and swinging. But I said this too. Now everybody knows who you are. They know you're an upset team. They know you're a team that is tough, and that is very different than a team that everybody overlooks, because I'm sure Florida overlooked them. I know Bama overlooked them 2 years ago and even last year. So I don't think Miami's going to be doing that. So I think USF I almost said USF wins, I hope, but I think Miami pulls it out. I think it'll kind of be like last year, Miami pulls away in the second half, but I'm going to go with the Hurricanes winning. USF gets points on the boards, but not enough to keep up. I'm going to go with a 24-34 win for the Hurricanes.
So 34-24?
Yeah, 34-24 Canes.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like USF's defense is good enough to keep them in this game. And I feel like getting to the fourth quarter would be huge, much like it was in the Florida game. And I just think, Brett Lashley is a better not Lashley. What is his name? Miami's offensive coordinator, Dawson.
Yeah.
That's the SMU coach now. No, Dawson, I feel like he's a better coordinator than Billy Napier as a play caller. Mm-hmm. And I feel like they might be able to figure out some, ways to really go after them offensively. And that really is the key because, I think Byron might be able to do some things. And again, also USF struggled within the run game. Like they really, outside of Isaac's big run against Boise, there really hasn't been a ton in the ground game outside of Byram. So, do they do it against Miami with their D-line? I don't know. I don't think they will. And, but maybe USF opens up the the playbook a little bit and throws it deep a little bit more. And I think they have to, because the secondary for Miami is a lot of transfers coming in. So, I'm not expecting them to like have a great impact in the game. Maybe they will. I don't know. I didn't see it against Notre Dame that much. And expecting that was, especially because I was a freshman quarterback making his first start ever. So, and Carr still threw for like 230 yards. So I expect Byram to have a better game than Carr did. And I think Byram could throw for over like maybe 250, 270. But again, along the lines of the score, we're a little bit simpatico there. So, it sucks, but it just feels like maybe this is the end of the streak. But it's not the end of the road, because USF has plenty to play for, an American Conference championship to hopefully play for. They just got to, get into conference play. They have a cupcake next week. They have a bye after that, so they can regroup a little bit, get healthy, and get ready for conference play after that, which will be, I think, 7 straight weeks after that. So let's move on to our next game, which is Arkansas Ole Miss. I don't know. I don't get the notoriety that Taylon Green's getting from these two games. Like, I like Taylon Green a lot. I liked him a lot last year, and I was like, oh, this kid's intriguing. But playing two bad teams, Arkansas State and I don't even know the other team, but it's one of these things where it's like you cannot really understand how these players are going to play in these big games when they're playing bad teams. It doesn't really like help. It's almost, they're basically glorified practices. So I don't know why some people love to like tout these numbers coming out of these games. I think he threw for like 6 touchdowns in one of them. Like, I don't care. This doesn't like, this is like, it's like playing with Monopoly money. Like, you're not really actually like, you don't have cash, so, I don't know. I liked Simmons in that Kentucky game for Ole Miss. I think he looked really good. He had a couple interceptions, but the defense did well enough. The one thing that doesn't look good for me from Ole Miss in that game against Kentucky was they were 4 of 13 on third downs, which is not great. But they were able to move the ball, get some explosives. So I like Ole Miss in this game. It's in Mississippi, so I'm going to say Ole Miss wins. I'm going to say like 34 to like 24. What do you got?
So one interesting thing to note here is obviously Lane Kiffin said coming into this game is that they have a lot to clean up, and that is an understatement. Simmons has not looked – he's been forcing a lot of balls, been trying to play hero ball a lot, and that's okay against a team with not as much offensive firepower as Kentucky. But obviously Taylon Green, yes, the stats are inflated, but he is still a very dangerous quarterback, and the running attack for Arkansas is their bread and butter. So they have got to limit turnovers. It's also another thing is Ole Miss has been averaging giving up almost 600 yards a game, and that's not good. That's not going to win you a lot of games. I get a really kind of bad feeling about this one. This is my upset pick. I honestly think Arkansas is going to pull it.
Ding, 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 ding.
Only because I get the same feeling I had with Tennessee going into Fayetteville last year. And I know Arkansas is going into Oxford. It's a night game. That's a tough place to win out in the Grove. But I feel like Ole Miss, their defense hasn't been fantastic. And, especially with giving up that many yards, and turnovers have plagued them. And that's the thing is that if you do that against Arkansas, they will make you pay for it. Yeah. Unlike, Kentucky. So I'm going to go Razorbacks winning in an upset. I'm going to go with a 27 to 23 win for Arkansas.
Yeah. Didn't we both called that Arkansas win last year against Tennessee?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If Taylon Green is healthy, they've got a real good shot of pulling it off. But I just like Ole Miss's offense a lot, and I feel like they're going to be able to move the ball. I don't like Arkansas's defensive side. Okay, moving on to the Gators
Ugh.
against LSU.
All right.
This is just at this point, again, I said it on Monday's show, this experiment with Billy Napier, it's either going to play itself out and he's going to recover, or he's going to lose a bunch of games here and he's going to get fired. So either way, Florida fans, this is like the best case scenario. So, I wouldn't be upset with last week as much as everyone loves to, calling it the worst loss ever. Like, come on, man. They lost to Vandy when Vandy was terrible at that point, and they lost a terrible Arkansas.
That's the sad thing, is that I wouldn't even consider that the worst loss for Billy Napier in his tenure. To me, the worst loss was against Arkansas 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, USF is actually a good team. USF is a potential playoff team. So, to be mad that they lost to a potential playoff team is very short-sighted and very, I don't know, just ignorant to the fact that you're not cognizant to USF's value. And I get that people want to just whatever, but USF is a good team and they have a chance. They already beat Boise State. They have a chance to get to the playoffs, so whatever. But for Florida, this game, last week they were 4 of 12 on third down, 11 penalties, too many mistakes against USF. And it was not only was USF a good opponent, but then you made too many mistakes against them. And you're going to lose against good opponents when you make too many mistakes. It just is what it is. LSU, on the other hand, kind of similar boat, but they just didn't lose the game. And Louisiana Tech is not as good. They only averaged 4.9 yards per play, and they had 9 penalties. They only won 23-7. Yes, they had the win against Clemson 17-10, but they haven't put up a ton of points so far this year. Florida's defense is stout. Florida has only allowed 18 points so far this year. They shut out the first opponent, so they're averaging 9 points per game allowed, which is pretty dang good. I expect Florida to play good defensively in this game. It's a rivalry game. It's at night. It's LSU. It's Death Valley. It's all the Hollywood story. This game, it's gonna be close. I feel like it's probably gonna be one of those weird games in Baton Rouge where a fake field goal or some ridiculousness happens and LSU somehow pulls this one out. I'm going to say LSU wins, but it's going to be close. I'm going to say 20 to 17. What do you got, Ian?
Florida hasn't beaten them in Death Valley since 2016, and they haven't won a night game there since Tebow's senior year. And now they're coming off that game against USF, 35-17 Bayou Bengals.
You got nothing else to say? That's all you're going to say?
What is there else to say? I can't be that's the problem.
Well, this is a team we cover, Ian. You got to say something. You can't just say
this is the problem is the team is better, but what is there preventing from, again, Baugh's probably going to run for 150 yards, but then Napier's going to call some stupid double reverse that results in a strip sack fumble and it's a 14-point swing. I can't get that out of my head.
I get it, but let me get to this point. Okay, so the thing that'll probably be the difference in this game and the deciding factor is if Lagway can recover from what he just did last week. Does this week of practice get him better? Does this, put some fire under his butt and, make him try to recapture what he had last year at the end of the year? Give me your thoughts on what you think DJ Lagway is going to do coming into this game.
I mean, I think DJ will be okay. The one thing is that his games last year when he was having, going off, the one game he really wasn't looking good was against Tennessee. He's never it's a road crowd. It's at night, and they're on you. Now that was last year as a freshman. I feel like he's matured and has gotten better, and I feel like he will play better. But again, it kind of relies on the play calling. He just has to make the right reads. He has to not, airmail these balls. He's got to hit the guys that are open like he did last year. That's the frustrating thing is we know he can do this. He just hasn't done it yet. And he definitely knows the pressure because they've got to, they don't have time to sit around. They have got to start looking good and winning games if you want to fight for Napier's job again like they did last year. So, again, I think he'll look better. The deep ball is going to be a concern. If he misses them open deep, it might be a long night.
I feel like it weighs on him this game because they beat LSU last year, and I feel like he can be the difference in this game. I've already picked LSU to win, but I feel like if DJ comes to play and he puts up 275 yards and 2 TDs, I feel like they have a shot. But if he doesn't play well, then they're going to lose this game. Okay, let's move on to next one we got is Texas A&M and Notre Dame. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, so with this one, I mean, obviously it's not like the most historic game. I mean, they had, the great game last year at College Station. In College Station. It's in, South Bend. And with Notre Dame, they've looked, they didn't look great, obviously, against Miami towards the end. But obviously, Carr was able to get some big plays off. It's really weird that they get the bye week in week 2 after week 1.
Yeah.
So they have the rest, and A&M for themselves, obviously they started, they're playing some layup games. They, blew out UTSA. They blew out Utah State. So they're primed and ready. This is definitely an upset watch, but I feel like Notre Dame was able to go in last year and lean on Love in the running game and just choke out Texas A&M, and that was in College Station, and now you're at home against them in South Bend. I feel like they'll run the same game plan. Texas A&M, they're just going to be like, beat us on the ground, and if not, CJ Carr, I mean, again, wasn't perfect, but he's definitely able to make some plays while he can against Miami's defense was really good, especially with that secondary. So I think Notre Dame survives and they get a close win. I'm going to go with let's do 24-20 Irish.
I really like CJ Carr a lot. I think he played extremely well against Miami, and that probably is the best defense he'll play all year. And if that's the case, then he should have a good game in this one. Jeremiah Love, like you said, had a good game last year against Texas A&M. I think Notre Dame should win this game. Again, they had the week off after a very difficult game against Miami. They're rested. Texas A&M played some tomato cans and won. They did about the same in both games, like similar stats from both of those games. So nothing really to take from either of those games. They pretty much are who they are. Marcel Reed, he's a good quarterback. I like Notre Dame's defense, though, to keep him somewhat in check. And I can't even remember if he was the primary quarterback last year in that game, or was it Wegman?
I think it was Wegman.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's because Wegman was gone shortly after that, and Marcel Reed took over in the Florida game, and pretty much a starter from then on. But I like Carr in this one again. I think he's a better quarterback than Reed, and I think they're going to win probably 28-17. Okay, moving on to Vanderbilt, South Carolina. That Va-Tech game, because it's a comparable opponent in both of them have played them, it's very telling, because South Carolina kind of struggled in that game to really move the ball. They had that punt return for a touchdown that was the difference and kind of like outpaced them a little bit there to really like take them over. They needed a late touchdown as well to really kind of, completely outpace them. But, Vandy with Pavia, like 34 straight points, just dominated them. And Vatek did like nothing offensively in that game. They only allowed 134 yards of passing from Drones, right? That's his name?
Yep. Jalen Drones.
Yeah. And so I don't know. I like Vandy in this one. I know it sounds weird to say that because right now the like sexy pick is Lenore Sellers in South Carolina, but I think Vandy can beat them. I think they've got a good enough defense to really keep them in check, and they're going to score points. I don't think South Carolina's defense really scares anybody. So I think Vandy wins like probably like a 28-24 game, maybe real close, and maybe Pavia scores a touchdown late to win it for them. What do you got?
Yeah, and doing the homework on this game, I remember – I was like trying to remember. I was like, I know Vandy has beaten South Carolina at some point, and it was a long time ago, but did they ever beat them in Columbia? And I was like, oh, they have in my lifetime. That was, and it should be a mulligan because it was in 2007 where anarchy ruled and nothing mattered.
Oh, yeah.
They did win, and I remember that as a kid because South Carolina was number 6 in the country, and then they lost. So, like, again, upsets galore that year.
Yeah.
But that was the last time Vandy beat South Carolina in Columbia. And this one, I think you hit the nail on the head. The other thing to note, too, is that Vandy had to go to Vatek and play that and blew them out compared to South Carolina, who was playing at a neutral site.
Yeah.
Now, credit, that was the first game of the year, and
Right.
Vandy was already kind of, had to beat Charleston Southern. So take that for what you will. I do feel like I think this is going to be a shootout, honestly. I think it'll be body blow after body blow. But I don't know. Vandy on the road against SEC teams hasn't been fantastic, even after this revival.
But this is the Clark Lee Vanderbilt. This is not your same old Vanderbilt.
I understand, and that's the thing too. Is like that's what now. If it was the same old Vanderbilt, I would be like South Carolina by 50.
Oh yeah, for real, 100%.
I am gonna favor South Carolina on this one because it is. I mean, Columbia's tough to win at. I mean, if it was easy, Vandy would have done it. Not since 2007. But yeah. I'm gonna go in a close one, and I feel like. My whole thing about South Carolina this year is that they're trying to get good karma back from last year on some of those close games, Alabama, LSU. So I feel like this might be one of those games, but I'm going to go South Carolina wins a tight one. I'm going to go Gamecocks. Let's go like 38 to like 36, something like that.
Now you're going crazy.
Yeah.
All right, last game, then we'll call it a show. Duke Tulane. I only really have this one on here because Tulane is a group of 5 and is going to compete with USF for the American. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, Tulane. Well, we know how good Tulane. Like Tulane still is kind of the class of the AAC, but man, they were really trying to blow that against South Alabama because they had that big. I mean, they were tight in the first quarter, but then they made it a 10-point game. And they just couldn't put South Alabama away. Now, Duke, on the other hand, obviously, it's going to be weird. You have, Mensa now at Duke. So this is, the Mensa Bowl.
Yeah.
But I feel like, it's in New Orleans, but I think Duke gets
literally and figuratively because Mensa is like for smart people, and both Duke and Tulane are smart.
Yeah, that's true. Man, you know what? I think with Duke, though, because I get Tulane had a close one against South Alabama, but I can't get out of my head how they just crumbled against Illinois in that second half. And obviously, Tulane's going to have something coming defensively for Mensa.
Yeah.
I don't know if this counts as another upset, but I kind of like Tulane in this one. I think I'll take the Green Wave. I'll go with, if they keep it low scoring, that's going to be the key, and I feel like they can. I'm going to go Green Wave winning 23-17.
Yeah, and that South Alabama game, South Alabama had the ball, scored, and had a chance to tie it with a 2-point conversion. It failed with like a minute left. So like they were on the verge of maybe losing that game. So yeah, all your points are valid. I totally am buying into that. I think I like Tulane as well, but I like Mensa a lot. I really do. I think that Illinois game may just be Illinois was just a better team, and maybe Duke is just a better team than Tulane right now. And I think Duke's going to win. I got Duke winning probably 28-22. All right, that is the show, y'all. Check out haterradio.com for all of our articles. I have one right now regarding Alex Golesh, kind of a comparison to Billy Napier a little bit there. Basically just telling the athletic department to back up the Brinks truck. I think that's the exact title of the article. But haterradio.com for those. Our socials are all under Hater Radio, so you can find us there. Ian, your social again is?
At G5 Gibson on Twitter, and YouTube and Instagram at G_Gator_G.
So the G5 Gibson is his new handle. So look for that one. Follow him. Follow us on the socials. We'll see you on Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and Wednesday as well. But Sunday is the next show, so we'll see you then. All right, take care, y'all. Enjoy these games.